What's up guys, it's Pride here with the continuation of the scenario of what if the Earthlings were strong. This scenario is centered around Yamcha. He's the first one fed up with being weak. In the previous chapter of this scenario, Yamcha has done a lot in order to get stronger. He has gotten the help with the Dragon Balls, he has trained with some aliens, he has went into the hyperbolic time chamber, and he has visited the Kais. Also, he can actually compete with people like Goku and Vegeta. Now we're at a point where it's time to see if Yamcha's hard work has paid off. Yamcha is standing right in front of Moro, and Moro glaring right at Yamcha. Can Yamcha actually defeat this villain on his own, or will Goku and Vegeta come to save the day? We'll find out either way with the conclusion of this chapter of What If the Earthlings Were Strong. So Yamcha is now in front of Moro. Moro is looking at Yamcha, and actually he doesn't expect much from this Earthling. He knows that Goku and Vegeta are supposedly the strongest people in the universe, and definitely more strong than these Earthlings, especially from all the reports that he's gotten. But his calculations were off when it came to discerning the Earthling's strength by a good margin, which shows that either the reports were wrong or that the Earthlings, all of them, collectively got stronger in the short time frame that he gave them before he arrived on the planet. All in all, Moro is still interested to see what this Yamcha has in store for him, while he waits for Goku and Vegeta to show up and plans to drain their energy. At this point, Yamcha decides to tell Moro that he's going to take it easy for the first couple of rounds. He really wants to test his own limits, so he's not going to go all out, and he hopes to not be disappointed by Moro. Moro laughs this off, being amused at the cockiness of this Earthling. Moro tells Yamcha to give it his best shot. Moro doesn't mind playing with his food. So with the talking out of the way, Yamcha decides to power up, and Yamcha's actually going to unleash his full power straight from the jump. But he's not going to be using Kaio-ken or any technique. He wants to see how good he is with just raw strength before he starts implementing all the things that he has learned, and before he actually tries to take down Moro. So the fight starts with Yamcha seemingly disappearing from everyone's eyes. Yamcha is moving so fast that almost the rest of the Z-Warriors can't really see what's happening. And by the time they hear it, the class has already begun, while Moro has successfully blocked a punch from Yamcha. Yamcha is impressed, and Moro is also taken aback. Yamcha noticed this and decides to take advantage of the opening that Moro has just presented, leading up to another attack that actually successfully lands. Moro grimaces and then proceeds to attack Yamcha, actually putting in some effort. They are hitting each other back and forth, and it's almost even, but Moro is indeed still stronger than Yamcha, and the longer the fight goes on, the more Moro decides to use the rest of his full strength, all the way up until the point where Moro is using more than 50% of his actual strength. That's when Moro decides to completely speed blitz Yamcha and punch Yamcha in the ribs. This attack actually breaks some of Yamcha's ribs, and Yamcha is sent flying. Moro takes a moment to assess the situation, and he can tell that that punch actually did a lot to Yamcha, and he tells Yamcha at first he was a little worried, but now that he knows the full worth of Yamcha, he's no longer worried, and he can't possibly understand where all that cockiness came from. If this was the best that Yamcha had, it was nowhere near enough. That's when Yamcha hops back up from the ground and smirks at Moro, and to Moro's surprise, Yamcha seems completely unharmed, but he swore that he broke some bones in Yamcha's body. Unbeknownst to Moro, by the time Yamcha hit the ground and before he actually fully got up, Yamcha already healed all the wounds that Moro did to him, leaving Yamcha completely fine and back to full fighting capacity. Moro asks Yamcha, does Yamcha actually know how to use magic? If so, then this fight can get a little bit more interesting. But Yamcha tells Moro that he doesn't actually know magic, he just knows a couple of techniques. And now that the warm-up is over with, it's time to actually utilize some of these techniques. And that's when Yamcha attacks Moro again, except seemingly he's even faster than he was before. Moro is surprised, but this actually doesn't give Yamcha an opening because he was actually prepared for whatever the heck Yamcha was about to do. But when Moro blocked Yamcha's attack, it was actually a lot harder to do. The attack had a lot more power to it, and he's not fully understanding what's happening. After a couple of more exchanges, he's starting to pick up what's going on due to the fact that Moro can sense energy to a very good degree, and Moro's realizing that Yamcha is augmenting his body with ki and powering all of his strikes on impact with very fine ki control. And even though Moro has figured out what's going on, he's still not too worried. That is until Yamcha says that the surprises doesn't end here. As Yamcha makes the move of the Neo Wolfang fist attack, the energy around Yamcha's hands become denser and sharper. This is where Yamcha thinks back to the training that he had in the hyperbolic time chamber, where he's utilizing spirit control that he learned from the Yarddraks and implementing it into all of his movesets that he made himself on Earth. Yamcha now realized that his initial version of the Neo Wolfang fist was imperfect. It was crude, at least when it came to gathering the energy in his hand. But now, with spirit control, he corrected all of the problems that he had in his own form, increasing the technique by leaps and bounds. Similar to that, but greater than the Destructo Disc. So when Yamcha's hands actually connect to the blocking arm of Moro, it actually cuts deep into Moro's arm, almost severing it, but Moro focuses at the last second and stops it from going too far by reinforcing his arm with his own ki. All the Z warriors and bystanders are shocked by what they're seeing. This is the first time they have seen Moro actually bleed and take on considerable damage, and that anyone has seen Yamcha perform at such high levels of combat mastery. This version of Yamcha they are not used to. This is almost a whole new person. And Piccolo, being one of the bystanders, notices that Yamcha hasn't even used Kaio-ken yet. And he remembers Yamcha boldly telling them that Yamcha pretty much mastered and perfected Kaio-ken and has taken it to new heights. And Piccolo, while he did believe Yamcha, he didn't actually have anything to really prove it, and he didn't have too high of an expectation for Yamcha. He just knew that Yamcha got considerably strong. But now looking at this fight, looking at everything that Yamcha's doing, Piccolo can only wonder what would it be like if Yamcha actually went all out with Kaio-ken. What would happen? How easily would this fight go? Back to the fight, Moro is now considerably mad. He didn't think that someone as weak as Yamcha could actually hurt him. He's actually surprised because Yamcha didn't necessarily close the gap in strength, but the technique that Yamcha used still managed to hurt Moro. So, with this in consideration, Moro decides to stop playing around. So, when Moro using 100% of his strength, Moro uses magic to teleport behind Yamcha and attacks in Yamcha's blind spot. Yamcha, not seeing this coming and really not expecting such a quick change in attitude, is caught off guard and can't stop Moro from piercing right through Yamcha's ribcage, narrowly missing Yamcha's heart by only a few inches. This is when Moro says to Yamcha that you are done, and while it was fun while it lasted, the real prize is here. And then Moro kicks Yamcha's body away, looking off an entirely different direction, where Goku, who's been secretly watching, is now currently standing. And Moro tells Goku that he doesn't want to play around anymore. He's had his fun with this Earthling here, and it's time to get serious. Goku jumps down, and Goku's having a lot of doubts in his mind right now. One, he didn't expect Yamcha to be that strong, but now seeing Moro's full power, Goku knows that Super Saiyan Blue is still not enough to compete against this version of Moro, who has only gotten stronger since their last altercation. And that's when Goku looks at Moro and tells him that he hasn't actually perfected Ultra Instinct, but he could still use it to a degree. So for now, that's going to have to work. And now the fight with Moro and Goku has officially begun. And some of the Z warriors, namely Krillin and Gohan, go over to Yamcha's body, pick him up, and try to give him a sensu beam before it's too late. But before they actually reach him, Yamcha is already standing back up, a little bit tired from all the energy he used to heal himself, but otherwise completely fine. Krillin's taken aback by this. He asks Yamcha, didn't you just get stabbed straight through the heart? And Yamcha was like, no, he missed, but still hurt a lot. Goku's fighting. Well, that is a shame. I didn't actually get to use half my strength, or all the techniques I know. Krillin hears this and is completely shocked and actually thinks that Yamcha might have a couple of screws loose. He even tells Yamcha that what you did was great, but it still seemed like Moro was out of your league. There's nothing wrong with that. Let Goku and Vegeta handle it. Yamcha looks at Krillin and tells Krillin that Goku's probably going to lose this fight. Yamcha can tell that Goku is going all out and that Moro is no longer playing around. There are some times where Goku can move exceptionally well, but other times Goku loses focus. And it's not too long after this that during their fight, Goku actually is defeated and considerably wounded. But before Moro can finish off Goku, Yamcha appears in front of Goku, and Vegeta also appears in front of Moro. They both utilize instant transmission at the same time. Yamcha to go to Goku and Vegeta to be in front of Moro. Everyone notices this, and Moro is especially surprised because he could have sworn that he killed Yamcha, or at least mortally wounded him. Moro says this, but no one's responding to Moro as the other three fighters, Goku, Vegeta, and Yamcha, are all looking at each other with a confused and awkward atmosphere. Goku, because he realizes that Vegeta and Yamcha both know instant transmission, which is a huge surprise to him, and Yamcha and Vegeta because they both see each other and both know that they want to fight Moro. So there's an awkwardness there. And Vegeta thinks back to when Yamcha said that he might get stronger by the time the Moro fight happened, and Vegeta is starting to think that there's some credibility to Yamcha's words now. But Vegeta shakes it off and tells Yamcha to look after Kakarot as he finishes up Moro by using that technique. Yamcha knows what technique Vegeta is talking about because Yamcha is the one that told Vegeta about the technique. So Yamcha grabs Goku and takes him over to the sidelines where Whis and Beerus have now joined the watch. And thus begins the fight with Vegeta and Moro. Now, during this fight, Yamcha heals up Goku and tells Goku that he's been at Planet Yardrak for a while and he learned almost all of their techniques. While Goku being pleasantly surprised by this and just a little disappointed that while Yamcha mastered all the Yardrak's techniques, that Goku couldn't master Ultra Instinct during his own little training arc. Whis chimes in and tells Goku that you don't need to worry because Ultra Instinct is a way harder technique to learn than any Yardrak technique could possibly be. Back to the fight with Moro and Vegeta. Vegeta is shown to be a little bit stronger than Goku. So he's actually doing better against Moro, but Moro still knows that it's not enough, and everybody that is watching Vegeta also knows that this is not enough. However, during the back and forth exchange of their fight, Moro seems to be doing less and less damage, and Vegeta seems to be able to dodge and counterattack more and more as time goes on in this exchange of blows. Moro is starting to notice this too, and is surprised for a bit until Vegeta punches Moro in the stomach, and some of the energy that Moro has stolen leaves from his mouth and flies up into the air. And that is when Vegeta tells Moro that he learned a special move from the Yardraks called Spirit Fissure, meaning that all that stolen energy that Moro has accumulated means nothing in this fight. Vegeta disperses the energy, but Moro has a backup plan and he decides to initiate it. Using some of the magic that Moro knows, he escapes from Vegeta's sights and goes to 7-3, who has a database of Moro in his system, and Moro eats 7-3 completely whole. This perfects Moro, essentially getting Moro back to his original strength and then some. By the time Vegeta is catched up to Moro, Moro has already transformed and is vastly stronger than Vegeta, and then proceeds to beat Vegeta. Goku sees this and he's like, this is a do or die moment. It's time to get Ultra Instinct and actually complete this form right here, right now. That's when Yamcha decides, no, it's his turn for round 2. Everybody, including Beerus and Whis, suggest not to do that because there's no way that Yamcha is strong enough to fight Moro now. He just easily defeated Vegeta. What can Yamcha do? And Yamcha tells everybody that he has been holding back considerably. And he doesn't wait for them anymore as he instant transmissions right in front of Moro and grabs Vegeta, does a quick heal on Vegeta and tosses him to the sideline. Moro looks at Yamcha and can't believe the audacity of this human to stand before Moro yet again in his new form with his new strength, and Yamcha has only weakened himself by continuously healing all of the grievous wounds that Moro has inflicted upon all 3 of his opposing fighters. Yamcha tells Moro, this time I'll fight you for real. Though Yamcha admits that he has lost a little bit of his energy, that won't matter for this round of fighting. That's when Yamcha immediately kicks it up off the back and immediately goes into Kaio-ken times 50. At this stage, Yamcha is now equal, if not stronger than Goku and Vegeta in their Super Saiyan Blues form. Moro looks at this and he's like, that's impressive, but that's still not enough, and he has no more time to play around with a worthless mortal. And Yamcha's like, I just wanted to show you a little bit of what I got. Now we can get serious, as Yamcha kicks it up to Kaio-ken times 80. Now the power is exceedingly more than what Moro actually thought that Yamcha had in him. Yamcha is now growing an insane intensity of red, while the whole planet is shaken just from his raw power that's continuously surging on and on. Yamcha takes a moment to control it and then contain it, so that way the planet doesn't explode. This is quite stressful for Yamcha's body, but it's something that he can still accurately handle. Thus begins round 3 for Yamcha and Moro. As the fighting goes on, Yamcha decides to display more and more of his Neo-Fang's attacks, and each one that is not perfectly blocked by Moro, Yamcha cuts away and makes Moro bleed with each successful strike that Yamcha delivers, calling this move the Fang Onslaught. And Yamcha continuously and rapidly attacks Moro from every other angle possible with the help of instant transmission and the insane speed boost that Yamcha has. Yamcha is almost seemingly everywhere at once. Moro is now continuously blocking all of these attacks from all of these different angles. At some point, Moro noticed after being bombarded from all of these attacks that they all of a sudden just stop. Moro stops for a second, now bleeding from multiple different points of his body from where he couldn't successfully block all of the fangs. In his frustration, he's looking around to try to find Yamcha. He noticed that Yamcha is staying off to the side, breathing pretty hard, and is just staring at Moro. Moro takes a second and then comes to a conclusion, and he taunts Yamcha, saying that you must be running out of steam. You can't handle much more of this, and I'll win just by outlasting you. Your attacks may be strong, but these little scratches aren't enough to beat me. And Yamcha replies that he is getting tired, but truthfully he wants to take a second to gather energy to use his next technique that should give Moro a run for his money. And that's when Yamcha moves into the stance of a Fang fist attack, and Moro prepares himself because he knows even though Yamcha's far away, Yamcha knows instant transmission, so he can immediately be in front of Moro at any moment he wants to be. But Yamcha doesn't close the distance. Yamcha decides to swing his fist and energy escapes his clawed hands, and the energy leaving Yamcha's hands is a blue color with a red outline. Moro can feel the intensity and the strength behind all of these attacks, and he braces himself to either dodge or block it completely with an attack of his own. But all of a sudden, these attacks stop just right in front of Moro, and then they take shape into a form of a ferocious and menacing wolf. And now there are 8 of them, all surrounding Moro. And Yamcha tells Moro that this is another technique that he learned from the Yardraks, but he decided to tweak it a little to better fit his style. And then he commands the wolves to surround Moro, but Moro laughing at Yamcha for being completely ignorant of his ability and not studying up on his opponent, even though Yamcha had ample time to do so. He attempts to grab the first wolf near him and eats the wolf, but as he grabs that wolf, another wolf bites Moro's hand, and then another one bites Moro in the neck. And Yamcha tells Moro that he knows that Moro can absorb energy, but from all the stories that he's heard, Moro seems to only be able to absorb it if he uses his mouth to eat the energy. That's when Yamcha tells Moro that trying to eat food in front of a bunch of hungry wolves is never the best thing to do. So now Moro is getting mauled by all of these wolves that has the same energy and power as Yamcha in Kaio-ken times 80, and there's 8 of them, all attacking from every different side and every different angle, biting him in the legs, biting him in the arms, biting him in the neck. While Moro tries to fight one wolf, the other wolves, with their insane speed and bite strength, is all too much for Moro to stop, where Moro has to do an explosive wave just to get them off of him. The wave spreads out far and wide, but with the help of the wolves that are already around Moro, Yamcha uses that energy that's already slowly dissipating to slowly contain the wave and keep it in a centralized area. When the explosive wave is over, all that can be seen of Moro is a completely ravaged body with bite marks all over him and huge chunks of his body missing. Moro's in a very pitiful state, and there's nothing but hate in Moro's eyes as he's staring at Yamcha. And Yamcha, still looking at Moro, talks to Jocko and gets a clarification on if it's okay to end Moro. Jocko saying that is perfectly fine and perfectly legal. If Yamcha can do it, do it. So before Moro can act and before Moro can go and try to find another energy resource, before he can even land on the ground, Yamcha goes to Kaio-ken times 100, a power that far eclipses anything that anyone has felt in a long time, getting the interest of Beerus himself and immediately bringing competitive smile to Beerus' face and putting the rest of the Z Warriors and even Moro himself into a moment of shock. And that shock is all it takes for Yamcha's instant transmission right behind Moro, and with a final Neo with Fang fist and slice and dice Moro to the point of no return. And now the fight is over. Yamcha doesn't depower yet because he wants confirmation from Whis to make sure that Moro isn't there. And Whis confirms that Moro is no more. And Yamcha now powers down all the way. And Yamcha is completely spent. Some of Yamcha's muscles are spasming just a little bit. And Yamcha is extremely fatigued. But he floats down and walks over to his companions while slowly healing his body from using Kaio-ken times 100. Everyone congratulates Yamcha and is surprised by all the things that Yamcha has done. Yamcha says that he's actually going to just try his best to continue on from here and get even stronger. And he encourages the Earthlings to also try to follow his footsteps. If they want to follow down his path, getting Dragon Balls would be a first good step in order to do this. But they kind of can't use the Earth Dragon Balls because, well, Yamcha already used it, and they still got like at least a couple of months before they can use the Dragon Balls again. But Vegeta intervenes, saying that he sent all the energy that Moro stole back to the Namekian. So if they really want to, they can go to planet Namek and use the Dragon Balls from there. Tien and Piccolo definitely are interested in this, and even Gohan is proud of Yamcha as an Earthling. Goku's slightly bummed that he didn't get to master Ultra Instinct, but he knows he has more time to do it, and he's actually surprised that Yamcha decided to master Kaio-ken. And Goku wonders if he can master Kaio-ken to 100. Goku knows that going to Kaio-ken times 20 is insanely painful. It takes almost everything that Goku has to keep that up. So he actually can't imagine how that would be if he were to try it in his state as Super Saiyan Blue. But it is something to work on. And finally, Beerus and Whis comes over to Yamcha, tells Yamcha that if he ever wants to train in the ways of the gods, elevate himself past the mortal realm, they're one call away. Boba always knows how to get in touch with them, and as long as Yamcha brings good food, they wouldn't mind training. And especially Beerus, as Beerus is now very intrigued in how strong Yamcha can get and wonders if, with the help of this Kaio-ken, if Vegeta and Goku can also get stronger to actually be worthy of fighting him when he's actually serious. With the day saved and with future training from the gods themselves, now a possibility. That is where we're going to end this episode of What If the Earthlings Are Strong. If you want to see how strong the Earthlings can get after this, especially from the showcasing that Yamcha has provided for everybody else, well, stay tuned. There are more arcs after this, and Yamcha has definitely paved a way for a new possibility and a new road to strength. So that is it for this, and don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you all later.